what is this? This is a world of adventure. It's a blank journal, and it is just waiting to be filled with incredible vistas of adventure. We're going to fill this up with amazing exploits, humiliating defeats, exhilarating victories, and a whole lot of exploration. I bought it for a couple of bucks at the local big box store, and now we just need something to fill it with. And for that, I've got something special for you. But before the big reveal, let me just lay a little bit of groundwork. You may have noticed that in recent months, the channel has been refocused on those small press and independent games that deserve a larger audience. I'm trying to do my part to spread the word about these games, and in particular, I'm trying to be a better friend. I'm trying to spread the word about games that are created, hosted, and delivered by those people that have been supportive of the channel. And one of those people goes by the name Castle Grief. He is the author of the game that we're going to be looking at today. And in fact, if this game looks interesting to you and you missed the boat on it, you didn't. I'll include a link to where you can get a copy of the game. But he also has a Kickstarter. Hasn't kicked off yet, but it's going to be starting soon for another game called Arathi Station. And I hope you'll check that out as well. But for today and the near future, we're going to be playing through Calerath, a role-playing game for 1+ players in a world of high adventure. As I said, at Castle Grief is a great guy. Talking to him over on what used to be Twitter, he is an eminently reasonable perhaps one of the most reasonable people in RPG circles. Far more reasonable than I am. I am much too quick to anger, and of course, I have very strong opinions, which can make for good watching, but maybe isn't the best for one's social life. Now, he's such a great guy. I picked up a copy of this. I bought this, and I bought another title, Calerath Twin Sun Sutra. And we'll do a little bit of a flip through today. We'll cover that up just because I know some of you guys watch this at breakfast in the morning with the family around. These are the two that I bought, and I wanted to surprise him because he's such a great guy. I like him so much. I bought these just on the strength of his being such a great guy, and I was going to surprise him because it's been out for, I don't know, almost a year now, and I'm finally getting around to it, much to my chagrin. There are other channels that have done Calerath playthroughs. I invite you to take a look. Castle Archon, Chaocalypse, like Chaos Apocalypse, just jammed together, and Man Alone, who has a whole lot of solo RPG stuff. So these are the three main books that we're going to be using. In retrospect, see the big dinosaur? See the big dinosaur? Man, how did the universe knows? The universe will send you. God speaks to you. Say your daily rosary. Say your bedtime prayers. Open up your heart and the universe will speak to you. I saw this first and then thought there's only one game for it. Just for receipts. See, totally empty. Not for long. Now, I wanted to surprise Castle Grief with a series of videos. Unfortunately, he recognized my name, and he was one step ahead of me. So he sent me a nice little note that I'm not going to read with you. He sent me a couple of stickers, and look how good that sticker looks on my journal. Maybe I need to. I might have to like cut it out around Mr. Dinosaur so we're not blocking off his sweet kicks. Not only that, he sent me another one featuring this bat-helmed guy. He sent me a look what a great guy this is. How can you not want to throw money at him? He also knows that I'm into the mass combat stuff. So he sent me the title that includes the mass combat system, The Valley of the Black Ziggurat, a Calerath supplement from Castle Grief. He also sent me Lords of the Pit, which includes, well, okay, it's a gladiatorial thing, but where Calerath uses a fairly abstract combat system, this gives you the blow-by-blow. So we have all three styles of combat here. We have very abstract, almost story gaming combat. Not really. It's we'll see here shortly. It's really more like Traveler. We have the detailed one-on-one. If you were to do an equivalent, this would be the alternative combat system from Chainmail. This would be 3rd edition, and then this would be your actual Chainmail, right? Mass battle. So we got it all covered. Whatever happens in the campaign, we're good. And of course, Calerath Twin Sun Sutra has. We'll just open it up. I'll show you real quick because this is not a full walkthrough. It's not a murder mystery. It's got cults in it. It's got different skills. It's got the process for carousing, what you do in downtime, which we really love. It's got demon sworn mode, which I think is the pulpy mode, and then more beasts, and some additional advice on the solo campaign, which is the real reason that I bought this. However, I would like to point out that the Black Ziggurat also, this is a zine. Remember zines, kids? You don't. Ask your dad about it. A note on the solo campaign. Just thrown in here real quick. A good 500-word essay. This is, I would throw this in a blog post and I would fail to spell check it, but it's really solid stuff. I can see myself coming back to this over and over, and after experiencing Calerath, plucking out new lessons all the time. Okay, so that's all by way of prep. Now, as I said, I am going to be filling this up. I'm going to be doing more since I'm embarking on this brand new, more of a journaling style of solo RPG. We'll go through, we'll play, and then this is the kind of book that I don't know if he has any pictures. Maybe I can find some to post right now. But you there's room for character sketches, and I'll do character sketches, and maps. I'm probably going to go ahead and cut out some hex maps. Right, you can barely see the hex here, but you'll be able to see the map once I start filling it in. This is the way you do that, by the way. Cut it to shape and then use these glue sticks. Do not, I repeat, do not use your craft glue to stick additional. Maybe I'll even print up some artwork from online that Mr. Castlegrief does to post in here, just so I can remind myself, oh yeah, that's what the Demon Lord of, oh, I need a name. I wonder if I don't need to think of a name because there's a delightful little name generator in here. Somewhere. Book control works better when you know what book it's in. It's in the Black Sun Sutra, right here near the back. We've got random names for people and places in keeping with the theme of Calerath. Lex Ithor. There you go. That's our demon sorcerer that we bumped into out in the steppes, because the steppes is where this happens, not the steppes of your tenement. That's steppes with two P's and an E, of vast grasslands, of vast plains cut by deep canyons, pocked by blast craters and ruins, and pierced by sudden outcrops of stone. It's very evocative of the kind of terrain that you saw in those old 1980 barbarian flicks like Conan, the Barbarian Brothers, Beastmaster. Mostly it's going to look like Southern California away from the cities, right? Maybe it'll look like the Little House on the Prairie, hilly areas, or MASH. You can run into the desert, but it'll really be more like a high chaparral. There may be some jungles, but they'll be hidden in a crevasse, like another post-apocalyptic movie, like the kids in Thunderdome. And one last bit of warning before we start. The game proper. Since I have this totally radical journal, a brand new game that I think is really going to be something special, I broke out something I've been holding on to for a long time. Midnight Black ink for a fountain pen. I'm committed to learning how to use this fountain pen and using this to give my journal a real classical, blasphemous tome. The insane uncle's journal full of secrets that man was not meant to know. Using that, a good friend gave me this several years ago, and it's been tucked up in a corner of my bedroom for a long time. I'm so happy to finally have an excuse to justify learning this new skill to go with the learning of this new game. That might take a little time, and I want to do that for another reason. We are going to get cozy. We are going to get comfy. We are going to get intimate. We are going to get, not that way. Don't freak out on me. This isn't 5th edition D&D. We're going to take our time, and we're really going to let this thing steep. We're really going to enjoy the exploration of everything this has to offer. We're not going to rush through. I may wind up pausing. We'll do a little bit of like playing the game, figuring things out, and then I may shut the camera off for a day, and I may fill up the journal with an accounting of what we did that day. Now, it's not going to happen today because today is really kind of a session zero where we go over the rules and we kind of lay the groundwork and give some offering thoughts on the books in general and set up how we're going to do the campaign. We'll go through character creation, but then we're going to stop. The adventure itself will start in our next episode. With all of that said, we are now ready to talk about the game. And the game is very simple. The game is it all uses D6. You're only going to need your sixers. 2D6, 8 up is a success. That's all there is to it. You may be adding or subtracting from that roll, but 8 up, that's what you're looking to roll. You may have advantage, in which case you'll roll 3 dice and you'll take the worst 2. You may have disadvantage, in which, on advantage you roll 3 dice, take the top 2. On disadvantage, roll 3 dice, take the lowest 2. When you have combat and you roll for initiative, you roll a d6. On a 4 up, you go first. This is if you're playing solo. If you're playing 2-player, obviously, you can just do a simple roll-off with some potential modifiers. Combat, same thing. I'm going to roll my combat skill to hit the bad guys. I should say my enemies. Who knows? I may be the bad guy in this campaign. And then when they attack me, I'm going to be rolling an agility check. They may have penalties on my agility check to avoid getting hit. Really, that's all there is to it. 2d6, 8 up is success. Maybe rolling some d6s for things like hit point damage, for weapon damage. Maybe you're rolling d66, right? 10s and 1s on some of the extensive and copious search for point of interest. It's a d66. There's 36 different possibilities for points of interest you can encounter. That's all there is to it. Looking at the character sheet, look at that. Castle Grief sent me he knows what's up, man. He knows. He sent me like 5 of these things because I think the game is going to be pretty brutal. Now, as I said, it does include in Twin Sun Sutra a pulp mode that makes it a lot more survivable, particularly if you're playing solo. The game is perfectly appropriate to be played with a standard 4-man adventuring party. I don't have 4 people. I'm going to do kind of what we've seen in games like The Wanderer or The Adventurer or Star Wanderer, where I have one guy, right? Maybe like Barbarian Prince. Remember when we were Calerath and we were trying to regain our see, look, we're throwing references to all kinds of fun stuff in here. He does it, we all do it. It's going to be great. We're going to make our own stone soup where we throw all kinds of media references in and come up with our own special, unique blend. It's going to be great. But I lost my train of thought. Right, so our solo character might have some companions, and we may give them some personalities, and we may wind up with additional character sheets that we need. But just from a basic overview, I think the game is fairly brutal. I think we're going to go through quite a few characters before we hit that run where we want to shift over to pulp mode so that we can actually run things out. The other thing I'm going to try to do is put a map here, and this is going to be our corner of the game world. We're going to build out our settlements. We may wind up having to wallpaper over that as things change, or maybe as it develops, we put a second map here with more detail. Maybe we have to do a zoom in or a zoom out map, but the idea here is I'm going to explore a portion of the steppe lands in which Calerath takes place, and as my characters die, I'll just feed more characters into that meat grinder until we finally, in a political situation will develop, factions will arise, and we'll just keep running with it and growing, and we'll just tend to our little garden within the greater sphere. Now, I should probably talk a little bit about the world that Castle Grief presents, and it is a brutal world full of death magic. There's no clerics. It's a dark and grim place, full of slavers, full of unusual monsters. We'll see more of that as we go. But the big thing to be aware of is that at the center of this steppe land, there is a demon king that rules over everything. Now, he is somewhat limited in what he can do. He lies dreaming and waiting for his city to arise. There are a number of cults that work to make that happen. In fact, there are cults that work to keep it from happening because he is not the only demon out there. So we have in, again, Calerath Twin Sun Sutra, we have the demon Khans of Calerath. So in addition to the big boy, so Akai is the big boy. Of the seven, the greatest is Akai, firstborn son of Ai, Lord of the Crimson Banner, right? And then we have these schools of magic that are all related to serving your demon. You don't just pull magic out of the ether, you make a pact with these demons. That's how the magic system works. So Shugdrath, son of fire, said to have been the product of his father and a desert djinn from the burning sands of Tarog. And then the art in these, I should probably talk about. It's just phenomenal. It's got that like raw 1970s heavy metal vibe to it. Um, Ali Yagra, right? There's the demon guys. Little. This one's for the ladies. We're gonna censor it just because, again, I know some of you guys. There is a demon sworn mode. Look at this guy. It's all pretty dark. It's very outside my bailiwick, but that's okay. I think we're going to enjoy it. And one last thing, one last little observation on the artwork side. I do think, to me, it just makes me laugh, right? So it says here, art and copy by Castle Grief, art by Outer Church, design and layout by Grim Tomb. You could tell Castle Grief is an artist. He does a lot of his own work, and anytime there's a piece of art in here, and I'm gonna probably make myself a liar, that he has to credit somebody else for. Like every time you turn the page, it seems like it's like, by the way, here's who did this art. By the way, here's who did this art, which is great. We're very right. We're very concerned about ensuring that the people that do the work get the credit. But and the thing I like about the fact that he does all of his own artwork, it really ties everything together. And when he does tap out, well, I shouldn't say tap out. When he taps in a friend, when he goes to the bench, the people that he calls on, their vibe is very much in keeping with his vibe. So you could tell this is. I think that looks like a different artist. Now I'm not an artologist, so I could be wrong on some of these things, but it does have a very unified, brutal, really rough and like. Now I don't want to say grimy, but it does definitely has that like sweat soaked after a battle, trying to catch your breath kind of feeling to it. But it's great. I like it. All right. So, how do you make a character? That's the next big thing. And for this, I am going to just, like I said, most of what we're going to do here is going to be kind of rough and dirty on camera. And then we'll clean it up so that our eternal record of what we did together looks so sweet. So, what do we got here? Our character sheet has all the things you would expect from a game like this: name, level, experience points, fate points. These are obviously rerolls. It's got 5 key stats: strength, agility, toughness, intelligence, and presence. Now, most of these, you know what they mean. Presence is kind of everything that intelligence isn't. It's basically charisma. No problem. We have to worry about rations because we're going to be blundering around a whole lot. Weapons, armor, skills, equipment, and then a little space here for notes, maps, and spells. That's all you need to get started. Very easy. Your abilities here are modifiers to the roll. If your strength is 1, then you add a +1 to every strength check. When you are attacking with a melee weapon, you will add 1. Attack you hit on an 8 up. If my strength is 2 and I'm beating you over the head with a club, my success isn't on an 8, it's on a 6 or better because I have a +2 to the roll. If I'm trying to dodge, there's my agility. It's just that simple. So for my guy, strength, agility, toughness, intelligence, and presence. I get to start on normal mode. You get 4 points to add. So I could go 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. However, I'm going to make my intelligence -1. My boy, and let's call him Thar Alak. This is my boy, Thar Alak, better known as Thar. He's not the smartest guy in the grasslands, not the tallest blade of grass, if you will. By doing that, I now have 5 points to spread around my 4 remaining stats, and he is a very handsome, charming, and likable guy. He's stronger than average, he's a little more agile than average, and he's a little tougher than average. Kind of dumb, really likable. Yeah, it's a self-insert character. What can I tell you? You can't raise any of those stats more than 2, or I probably would. Now we're going to roll for hit points. It's a d6 roll. Add your toughness of 1. I will start with 5 hit points. In pulp mode, you start with maximum hit points for maximum survivability. 6 plus your toughness. We're going to play on Hurt Me Plenty because we don't need to play on easy. We're just learning how to play the game. If our characters die like wheat before the scythe, we may kick over to that just so that we can actually get through these early levels and explore everything that the game has to offer, which includes 4 different character classes: Warrior, Rogue, Mystic, and Explorer. I asked my friends on social media, which would you like to see first? And being a bunch of solid, reliable crusaders, they said Warrior. See, here's the poll right here. The Warrior will allow me to talk about a couple of other rules that we glossed over for combat. Now, I get to make 1 attack every round, and then I get to make a second attack at disadvantage. We talked about that. Roll 3 dice, take the lower 2. Little risky. If you roll snake eyes, that's a fumble. Bad things happen. On the other hand, if you're attacking with advantage and you roll boxcars, good things happen. You do double damage. And by the way, damage dice are exploding. If you roll a 6 for damage, roll a second die. You do 9 points of damage. Oh, wait, I got that. That's on a regular attack. On a critical hit for boxcars, you do double damage. So if you roll boxcars for your hit, critical hit, you roll a 6 for damage, and then you roll another 6 on your exploding die, you double those. You just did 24 hit points. Remember, our guy starts with 5. So 24 hit points is huge. Of course, you got to roll Yahtzee in order to get that, but hey, stranger things have happened. You roll an attack and damage with a specific weapon type at +1. Hey, free bonus. We'll take that. Gain an additional point of damage reduction from wearing armor. Armor, if you don't wear any armor, then you take it all. You just eat it. There's basically 3 kinds of armor. There's light, medium, and heavy, and they have a damage reduction of 1, 2, or 3. If you have a shield, it's a damage reduction of 1, and you can just say, oh, my shield splinters. I took no damage at all. That could be huge. If your enemy rolls boxcars and does 24 points of damage to you, and you say, yeah, he smashed my shield, I take no damage at all. Now, I don't have any shield, but I'm not like pulp. I haven't been beaten into a pulp, right? Regardless of whether you're playing on pulp mode or not. When you are unarmored, you still have 1 point of damage reduction. That's pretty cool. And then we have a d6. Oh, that additional attack, add d6 rage bloodlust damage until rage ends in d6 rounds. After rage ends, roll a d6 on 1 to 3. All rolls are at disadvantage until you can take a long rest. Note, long rest is not defined. You decide what that means. Is it a long nap? Is it a night's sleep? It's up to you. Explorer, Mystic, all of that, all kinds of fun stuff. And then we talked a little bit about combat. I think that we mentioned that for initiative, this is probably a good time to point this out. You roll, if you're playing solo, roll a d6. On a 4 or better, you go first, add your agility. So I will go first 2/3 of the time because I go first on a 3 or better. Now let's take a look at the weapon section. Oh, when you're reduced to 0 hit points, you're not automatically dead. You just have to roll on this death and wounding table. There's a chance that you have an adrenaline surge, bloodlust, gain d6 hit points, and then at the end of the combat, you black out for d6 rounds. There's a chance that you instantly die, or you have a fatal wound. You're dead in d6 rounds, but mostly you'll just be unconscious for 2 to 6 rounds. If you're only wearing a helmet, you're only stunned for a round. So that's 7 and 8. That's the most likely event. I'm at 0 hit points. Now bear in mind, you're still at 0 hit points. Every additional attack that you take, you have to re-roll on this with a -1 to the roll. And I should probably turn back a page just to refresh myself. Rolls are at -2 for each time a individual at 0 hit points takes damage. That means you're dead. The first time it happens, you're dead on a 2, 3, or 4, and then a 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. So that third, fourth attack, yeah, even if you're not dead, first of all, you're hurt bad. You're not going to be nearly as effective. Some of these you are going to be fighting at disadvantage, which means that's not all the rolls. It's going to be harder to avoid getting hit. We do have morale numbers. Anytime an enemy is reduced by 50% if they lose their leader. So, again, target the leaders, force those morale checks. And then we get into magic, which I'm going to gloss over for now because I have a warrior. We don't have no truck with that creepy stuff. So the question then becomes, and this is really the last question of today's episode. What fate brought you here? Oh, no, that's not true. I should go over the weapons and armor. Each of the weapons there are 3 different classes of weapon: light, medium, heavy, missile weapons. Heavy weapons, you get 1 free weapon. So I'm going to take Maul. On a critical damage, forego the extra damage to stun an opponent for D6 rounds and knock prone. Not only that, but for damage with a Maul, you always have advantage. My Maul, I did 6 points of damage. If you're just fighting with a sword, you got to take whatever the 1 die gives you. With these 2-handed weapons, I'm doing 5. It's very rare that I'm going to do 1 point of damage. Okay, and then you also, with the Maul, you have this ability that I can just stun a character for D6 rounds, which may be valuable. If I'm going one-on-one against a dragon, rather than doing double damage, I would much rather put that dragon on his keister, right? For 1 whole round. All right, for 5 rounds, I get free attacks. I'm just going to beat on him for 5 rounds. I'll be able to hit more often and do way more damage than just that 1 extra die of explodey. Or even doubling a die, right? Because if you have a critical hit, double damage. Oh, I rolled a 1. Yeah, I can see that happening. So for armor, I am going to go with, well, there's also a costing thing. I'm going to do all this offline, off camera. But basically, you're going to be hard pressed to have heavy armor. I'll buy what I can. Rations are going to be important. You start with here. Let me roll for starting rations. He starts with 3 rations, so I can explore for 3 days. And we're going to start out exploring the hex map, like I said. The last thing that we should do, if I can, I want to buy a bow. I do want to have some ability at that. You use agility for missile attacks. But now the last real question of today's episode. We've been going for a while, just long enough, I think. What fate brought you here? The following table can be rolled on or chosen to determine your starting adventure. I'm going to roll. You may add other quests or adventures if you play, but this starting table can help you determine. There are other starting what brought you here's in the expansion sets. I'm just going to play basic for now. We'll explore those later, maybe with my next character. So the black die will be the tens die. 56. Oh, no, it doesn't matter for this one. It's not a percentile, or D66. Establish a thriving trading or smuggling ring by setting up routes and caravans across and through the heart of the world. But bandits, reavers, thieves, beasts, and even giants stand in the way. All right, so I am a warrior who is trying to establish trade. Establish trade, which means this is our map. We can decide, you know what I'm going to try to do? I'm going to walk across the map. I'm going to explore. I'm going to try to get from point A to point B. I'm going to find a settlement somewhere along the way, and I'm going to try to take over that settlement, or I'm just going to set up shop for caravans moving back and forth. Remember that the demon king of this savannah, he sets up in a giant city in the center of the savannah. But there's lots of power brokers outside that city, and we're going to try to become one by putting an important hub of trade. And if we can get over and back, and that might be a while. I don't know how many hexes across our trade route is going to run. I want to say this is my hexes here. Let's grab a ruler real quick and let's just go ahead and measure. Each hex is definitionally 20 miles across. So I got 4 hexes to the inch, which means if my book is 5 inches across, 5 by 5, that's going to be 20 by 20. That's a lot of hexes. I may just make it something like 15, maybe 3 inches. It's like 16 by 16. That's a pretty good amount, right? That's 216 hexes. That's going to take 216 days. That's almost a full year to explore it. Just walking, we're not going to be able to explore every hex. There, as I said at the start of this video, is room for so much adventure in this little game. But I don't have to make it square. I just printed this up. And of course, we'll have to figure out, are there any rivers running through it? Do we need to build a bridge? There's all kinds of scope for adventure, and some of the inhabitants might not want trade running through. So who knows what's to happen next? All I can tell you is that we're going to have a great time, and we'll make our journal start off with Thar Alak. Page 1, day 1. What does he look like? Maybe that's him, except he has no armor yet, unless I can afford a helmet because I like that. Put a character sheet here, and we'll start filling out our daily journals. But you'll have to wait for that until next week, which gives me time to actually do a nice little character sheet, figure out my fountain pen. Till then, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you're as excited about this new solo RPG campaign as I am. Tune in next week. Till then, I'm praying for you.